We brought this out because we're just kind of gonna talk about like how we like made everything. And so when you're making a pork rillette, you're basically taking like pork and you're cooking it, and then you take the fat like separately once you've like fabricated it and all that fun stuff. And you have like a mixer, and you're kind of like emulsifying the fat with the meat itself, so it just turns into like kind of similar to like barbecue, but just like more Asian-y. Yeah. So almost kind of like a pate, yeah, or like a mousse or whatever, but it's meat. So, and then this is what we steam it in. We have a machine that's in the kitchen. It's called a rationale, and so basically you would just put in like a perf pan, and then we just put like a piece of parchment down, and then we just like steam the bao buns. And for the bao buns, it's just really simple. It's just like a kind of almost just like any type of roll that you would make. It's just a matter of like shaping and proofing, and you're steaming them, almost kind of like a dumpling, but they're slightly thicker. And then we made just a peanut sauce that's pretty straightforward. So.
Any questions?
So we're gonna prompt you. You would have some of the high school students. Can you tell me about the lifestyle of an Navy Tech student? Like, what does your week look like?
You're busy. So for this class, so whenever we do like the productions where we're open to the public and we have people that come in here, so that for us is called global, because every week we have a different region that we're learning. So as far as like the lecture where we're like actually sitting in a desk, you're learning about like the region and the culture and like what type of foods and how some of the techniques that and how they make that food. And then for our labs, we have different labs. So some of them, it just depends on like if you're a first year or a second year, but yeah, they're very like thought out and planned, and it's one of those things where like you're either prepared or you're not. So it's very like cut and dry, and you just have to hit the ground running when you come into these things. But it is a lot of fun, and you do learn a lot. So, Isaac,
it's definitely like a second job. It's like working a second full-time job almost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta. It's really hard to balance school and work, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
So what brought you all to AV Tech or culinary in general?
I started when I was little. I knew I wanted to be a chef from the time I was about 8 years old. I started helping my mom in the kitchen, and then going through high school, taking the foods classes in there, and then I heard about AV Tech through my high school. Heard they had a great culinary program, and I knew it was close to me, and I went for it.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar background as well. Like just from a young age, I enjoyed like being in the kitchen and learning from your parents and getting like a little step stool so you could like reach the sink and do something important, you know. Most of my experience that I actually have is like front of the house. So I've served for like 7 or 8 years. So like that was just my mentality about like what hospitality means, and being able to like give people like an experience versus just like, hey, here's your food, here's your drink, here's your bill. Because it's like it's about like more than that to people that are coming in, especially that come into these programs, and we're very thankful for you guys for being here as well. So I wanted to learn the different aspect of it because it's completely different, but if both like front and back of houses aren't working like cohesively, and we're not doing our parts, and we don't respect each other's fields, then it doesn't work. And so we are in an environment where we're really thankful to have that here. So that's kind of something that I wanted to learn, so I can be kind of like on both sides, which could kind of open more fields for me hopefully when I graduate.
So I'm only 17. I've never worked in a commercial kitchen. Can I come to your program?
Yes.
We have a open door program, so you can come at any age with any experience.
What's the most challenging and what's the most rewarding part of being a student here?
Most rewarding is like once you do something, it could be something like sometimes you'll go into, or you'll look at some of the labs, especially when you're a second year, and you're like, I don't even know what this is. I was like, I have never even heard of this before. But then like sometimes you have to think back on like some of the applications and like the very cut and dry like first year things where you're like you learn how to cut an onion or you learn how to like make stock and just like little things like that, and then you take that and you apply that into something that is more complex. So it's just kind of like building off of certain foundations that you learn as like a first year. So that's kind of cool because as that comes together, especially once you get more into like your capstone as a second year when you're about to graduate, you have to come up with like a 5-course meal and it's costed out and you have to budget and it's a lot, but it gets you prepared for like what the real life is, because you're not going to have like an unlimited amount of supplies like sometimes we do here at school where we're just like, oh, well, I don't have this, I'm just going to go grab it from the storeroom. But sometimes you get like the food, like whenever you have your truck or delivery and stuff, and then you get what you get, and sometimes you're just like, well, I just have to work with it because that's how life works. So this program definitely like prepares us for like real life situations, so that's really nice, and we're thankful to have that.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Cook?
Is anything an option?
I think I like learning about like the regional things and learning new stuff, but I don't really think there's anything specific. But for me personally, the most challenging class that I have here is baking, because it's very different from cooking, and it's very like mathematical and precise, and like in culinary you kind of have a little bit of like more freedom to just kind of be like, oh, if I want to put a little bit more salt, that's cool. But if you do that with like some type of bread, then like you could ruin the whole thing and you have to start all over. So yeah, that's what I enjoy about culinary versus baking.
What do you want to do when you graduate from this program?
I would like to travel and just learn more about different cultures and global cuisine and all that, and then hopefully bring it back here and maybe one day open up a place. So
I want to travel as well, and then eventually, like once I just want to start somewhere and then like work from the top, and then hopefully get into like a SUE or an executive position, and then like when once I get like a big girl job, then I want to go and like possibly have my own business and like travel and have like a food truck or something like on the side. So. Any other questions?
Who's your favorite instructor?
that's classified.
So-
Good answer.
Yeah. You like them for different reasons. But there's also different things. Like it's funny going from like a first year to a second year where there's like, so like tasting food and making food is like somewhat subjective. So there'll be like little things where you have to remember like what chef likes what and what makes whatever chef like what they just won't tolerate. And so there's just like certain things that you have to just kind of remember. So sometimes that's just kind of fun because it's like a game.
Yeah. Who's your favorite share?
Of course.
What about a favorite celebrity chef?
I mean, I guess you could say like Gordon Ramsay or something because he's like very popular.
You don't have to say him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Like we have a lot here. I mean, the chefs that are instructors are famous to us because they teach us everything that we know. So we're thankful for them.
Yeah.
You don't score points.
Yeah, brown nosing is not a category on
That's
the
fine.
spreadsheet.
That's fine. Yep.
Did you both start this program right after you were in high school, or did you take some time? And what was your experience, if you did take some time between high school and where you are now, that sort of played into your experience here?
Go ahead.
I come in right after high school, and that was when coronavirus had like first hit. So the summer I didn't do a whole lot. I worked at a small coffee shop in my hometown of Burnsville. So I didn't have a whole lot of experience coming into it, but that was the leading up right after high school.
I had absolutely no experience in the kitchen whatsoever. All of my experience is front of house, so I waited tables for like 8 or 9 years. So that's kind of nice to have that perspective. But going into it, like this was very hard. Like I thought that I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna come in here, it's gonna be great. Like we're gonna learn how to make like cute stuff and like it's awesome. And then it was just like you hit the ground like running, and you're like, oh, like this is serious. Like this is a lot. But it's worth it for sure. So it just kind of like put a different like application for me, and I just I went with it, and I've loved every minute of it so far. So. Yeah.
You talking about your dual programs?
Mm-hmm.
For you?
Oh well, yeah. So so when I started in 2019 culinary school. So I was the first year, and then COVID hit, and then I was just kind of like, well, culinary school online. This is weird. How does this work? So then I was like, well, I guess we have a hospitality management program here, and so I switched, and whenever you do the hospitality and or culinary program, you can get both within 3 years versus 4 years because they cross-pollinate. And so I switched during COVID and got my hospitality management degree, and I just got that back in the spring. And then over the summer, Chef Boer taught like a certificate course that was called Therapeutic Cuisine, and so I also have my certificate in that. So that, I think so far that class was actually my favorite out of anything I've taken here. And in the first class that he taught, it was like a brand new, like we were the guinea pigs, and it was the most fun, but like I also learned the most as well, because it's just like, it was more of less of, not so much pressured of like, this is what you have to cook today and you have to get it done and this is how you have to do it, but it was more of just like, it was more like realistic, because you have to cook for all sorts of like dietary restrictions, people who are vegan, people who are vegetarian, and that's very popular and it's in a large like demand here in Asheville. And so that was really cool because it was like real life like practice that you're actually going to have to do when you're in this type of industry. So yep. And then I'll be graduating in May.